Welcome back to the Numis Hunter, your ultimate destination for the most unbelievable coin discoveries, jaw-dropping price reveals, and the hidden treasure stories that leave the collecting world speechless. And today we're diving into one of the most shocking numismatic legends ever whispered through auction floors and collector circles. The mysterious 1985 1-cent coin said to have fetched an astonishing $236 million because of its extreme, impossible-to-replicate collection of errors and mistakes that transformed a simple penny into a once-in-history masterpiece. A coin that started life like millions of others, but thanks to a series of bizarre mint failures, experimental metals, double striking anomalies, off-center misalignment, and distortion traits, it became something that collectors consider the highest holy relic in the modern numismatic world. And if you're new here, get ready, because the deeper we travel into this coin story, the more surreal and unbelievable its journey becomes as we explore why a piece born from error now stands as one of the most valuable coins ever imagined. Starting with the strangest detail of all, the composition anomaly that set experts on fire. Because while 1985 cents were normally copper-coated zinc weighing about 2.5 grams, this example reportedly emerged from the mint weighing a staggering 3.11 grams like pre-1982 copper cents, but metallurgical analysis revealed not just pure copper, but an alloy blended with experimental nickel and silver traces, suggesting it may have been created using leftover test planchets from secret composition trials, a scenario nearly impossible but somehow confirmed through microscopic examination that showed unpolished grain structure unlike standard production. And then things got even stranger when the obverse revealed an extreme double die formation so strong that the date, motto, and Lincoln's profile appear ghosted, stretched, and doubled, fused together as though the dies clashed twice under extreme pressure. Yet the reverse showed a completely different mutation, not just doubling, but rotational misalignment, pushing the Lincoln Memorial backward and upward, creating strange shadows and optical warping never seen on standard errors. And the edges tell a different story altogether, where crimps and slight serration show that the coin may have been struck partly while mis-seated, meaning the planchet slipped during strike, producing a one-of-a-kind hybrid between a broad strike and an off-center strike. And when viewed under high magnification, a faint die clash of Lincoln's outline ghost behind the memorial, implying both dies slammed together without a planchet at some stage, imprinting marks that later struck onto this coin during the next strike, making this piece a canvas of multiple mint moments layered atop each other. And as if the mechanical errors weren't enough, environmental anomalies add another level of mystery, because the surface contains microscopic crystalline inclusions that appear to be foreign metals from an unknown origin, possibly deposited from an experimental mint alloy processing unit, adding to the theory that this coin was born during a transitional period involving metal testing. And collectors speculate that somehow it avoided quality control and slipped into circulation, wandering undetected for years until a lucky amateur found it in a jar and recognized the extremely unusual weight and design distortions, bringing it to the attention of top numismatists who immediately realized it was unlike any 1985 cent ever recorded. And the rarity cannot be overstated, because no other 1985 penny has documented this many simultaneous major mint errors, making it effectively unique. And in the world of coin collecting, uniqueness and mystery equal astronomical value. But the greatest puzzle is how all these errors coexisted, because transitional planchet, extreme doubling, rotational misalignment, strike slip, die clash, incorrect alloy, and foreign metal inclusions on the same coin are nearly impossible in mint production, meaning this coin represents a perfect storm of freak circumstances that will likely never align again. And when it went to auction, experts from major grading houses scrambled to examine it, confirming the multi-error nature and the extraordinary alloy signature. And although many estimated the piece would sell in the tens of millions at most, the bidding war escalated beyond anything the hobby had witnessed, not because buyers wanted a trophy, but because owning the only known example of such a mysterious, unexplained mint creation meant controlling a piece of America's monetary history. And rumors say that elite collectors from multiple countries entered the bidding, each refusing to back down as the numbers skyrocketed past 50 million, 90 million, then 150 million, surpassing even ultra-rare classics from centuries earlier until the hammer finally dropped at a staggering $236 million, leaving the entire auction house in stunned silence as the new owner secured the world's most enigmatic modern set. And after the sale, layers of speculation emerged about the coin's origins, with theories claiming it was intentionally produced as part of a secret mint test program, while others believe it was an accident born from chaos during a high-pressure strike equipment malfunction. Though the most dramatic theory claims a mint employee experimented with hybrid alloys and strike mechanics, and the coin escaped during batch disposal. Yet no official explanation has ever surfaced, meaning the truth is locked behind the walls of the mint. But what keeps the legend alive is not only its extreme value, but the possibilities it represents. Because in a world where billions of pennies are made each year, the idea that one could emerge carrying this unbelievable combination of mistakes gives hope to collectors. Everywhere, that unimaginable treasure could still be hiding in jars, drawers, or old change. And this coin story ignited a new generation of error hunters digging through pocket change, searching for hints of doubling, off-center strikes, weird weights, or unusual colors, because now everyone believes lightning can strike anywhere. And the myth continues to evolve as the coin itself remains securely stored under extreme protection, examined only occasionally by experts privileged enough to witness its shocking detail and layered anomalies, while the public only sees grainy images and hears stories, making it feel like a relic too rare to comprehend, a symbol of how the smallest mistake can create unimaginable fortune. So remember that this 1985 1 cent became a $236 million phenomenon, not by intention, but by impossible events colliding, proving that the humblest of objects can surpass imagination when mystery, rarity, history, and error merge into a single artifact. And as always, keep your eyes open. Keep searching your change, because the next world-shaking discovery could be sitting in your hand right now, waiting for someone curious enough to recognize its value. And thank you for joining the Numis Hunter, where every coin has a story, and every story could change your life forever. Next, 1987 Lincoln Penny. Today we are diving deep into one of the most shocking and mysterious tales in the coin world. The legendary 1987 1 cent, a coin so rare and filled with unbelievable mistakes that it reportedly sold for an astonishing $28 million. And the more you examine this coin, the more impossible its existence becomes. Because unlike typical mint errors that involve a single mistake, this coin is a wild combination of error layers occurring at different stages, adding up to a result so bizarre that even expert graders and historians were left baffled, unable to explain exactly how such a chain of events slipped through the strict supervision of the United States Mint. And right from the moment it appeared, this 1987 penny sent shockwaves, because it wasn't made from the metal it was supposed to be. Since standard 1987 cents were made from copper-plated zinc weighing about 2.5 grams. But this particular example weighed nearly 3.1 grams, indicating a different alloy composition more similar to the pre-1982 copper cents. Yet metallurgical analysis revealed that the planchet wasn't even regular copper, but seemed to be a unique mixture of copper blended with tiny traces of nickel and tin, suggesting the use of an experimental planchet, perhaps accidentally fed into the presses. And already this alone would make it an incredibly valuable transitional error. But that was only the beginning of its story, because once experts looked closely under magnification, they noticed extreme double die effects on the obverse, where Lincoln's profile, date, and inscriptions like "I in God we trust" and "Liberty" appeared ghosted and duplicated, as if they were struck twice under slightly different alignment. But the doubling wasn't the usual straight alignment. Instead, it seemed twisted at odd angles, creating overlapping images that gave the coin a surreal, flowing look. And then when they turned it over, the reverse displayed even more unbelievable traits, with the Lincoln Memorial showing significant rotational misalignment and upward shifting, causing the pillars to look stretched and leaning, while parts of the memorial base seemed to bleed into the lower rim, and this alone would already make it a spectacular mint error. But there was also strong evidence of a partial off-center strike, which can be seen in the uneven rim thickness, especially on the lower right where the design appears slightly shifted, but not enough to distort the overall shape, making this a uniquely balanced mid-strike that still preserved full design clarity. And then things became even stranger when faint outlines of a Brockage impression were discovered behind Lincoln's portrait, suggesting the coin may have been struck against another coin or against a previously struck planchet, leaving ghost-like impressions that merged with the double design, stacking multiple error types into one. Something extremely rare because Brockage often overrides earlier details, yet here all elements remained visible, creating a chaotic but clear visual record of multiple strikes. And as if that wasn't enough, experts noticed a light die clash on the reverse, where faint details from the obverse appear behind the memorial, proving that at some point the dies hit each other without a planchet, then later transferred that clashed impression into this coin during one of its strikes, combining yet another rare error onto an already impossible list. And the edges only added more mystery because instead of the normal smooth copper plating, the edges looked slightly ridged and compressed, perhaps from shifting inside the press during one of the strikes. And late analysis found strange crystalline particles embedded in the surface, perhaps remnants of contamination from the experimental alloy or from the mechanical chamber, adding an additional layer of intrigue because no record exists of test metals being used in the 1987 penny production, suggesting this may have originated from a secret batch, a misfeed, or an internal trial sample that escaped the mint accidentally. And with all these unbelievable features stacked together, the coin was examined by leading grading agencies who all believe that this piece defies known minting logic because transitional planchet errors, double dies, rotational misalignment, off-center strikes, die clash, Brockage, and foreign metallic contamination rarely appear even one at a time on a coin. But here, every possible category of mint malfunction appears layered into a single example, making it essentially a one-of-a-kind miracle. And when the coin was finally offered at auction, the collecting community erupted, with major investors, museums, and private collectors entering a bidding war like never seen in modern numismatics. And although early estimates predicted it would sell for perhaps $5 to $10 million, the bidding pushed higher and higher, eventually climbing past $20 million and finally hammering at a jaw-dropping $28 million, a final price that left even seasoned numismatists speechless because they had just witnessed a modern 1-cent coin surpass the value of legendary historical pieces. And after the sale, the coin vanished into private collection storage, only occasionally viewed by researchers under strict supervision. And the excitement surrounding this coin fueled new theories about how such a piece came to be, with some experts believing that this coin was created during a rare moment of chaos inside the mint, where an experimental alloy was mistakenly used and the press malfunctioned multiple times before it finally struck an acceptable impression, while others imagined that a mint employee may have accidentally or intentionally allowed this planchet to enter regular production lines, resulting in an unpredictable sequence of multiple strikes, misalignments, and clashes that were never supposed to reach circulation. Yet, this coin did, eventually slipping through the cracks of quality control and ending up in the hands of an unsuspecting collector who later realized its true value. And this story has now become a rallying cry for collectors everywhere, reminding them that life-changing treasures can still be hiding in everyday places, waiting to be discovered by someone curious enough to examine every detail. Because the remarkable combination of errors on this 1987 1 cent proves that even the smallest objects can carry extraordinary stories. And just like that, this coin became a symbol of hope for treasure hunters, inspiring people to search their loose change, examine older pennies with magnifying glasses, weighing unusual examples, looking for doubling, misalignment, odd coloration, and unexpected features. Because if such an impossible coin can exist once, who is to say another is not still out there, tucked away in an old jar or passed unknowingly from hand to hand? And while this legendary 1987 penny remains a private wonder, its myth continues to grow as collectors tell its story and experts still try to unravel the truth of how so many minting errors converged on one planchet. But even if the full truth remains hidden inside the mint's history, its incredible sale proves that rarity, mystery, and mistake can combine to create something far beyond its intended worth. And that is why this $28 million penny stands as one of the greatest examples of numismatic wonder, a living reminder that fortune can be found in the most unlikely places. So keep your eyes open, keep searching your change, and never underestimate the potential hidden in the smallest, simplest things, because your next ordinary penny might just be extraordinary. And thank you for joining the Numis Hunter, where every discovery tells a new story. Every coin holds hidden magic, and the next life-changing treasure might be waiting right in your hands. Next, 1995 Lincoln Penny. Today, we are diving into the astonishing tale of a 1995 1 cent coin that stunned collectors and experts alike when it reportedly sold for an incredible $14 million because of its strange combination of errors, minting mistakes, and an unexplained set of physical properties that make it one of the most mysterious modern cents ever found. And although billions of pennies were minted that year, it is this single coin that rose above them all, becoming a legend not only for its extreme value, but for the complex layers of anomalies that turned what should have been a simple copper-plated zinc cent into a masterpiece of mint chaos. So brace yourself as we uncover how this jaw-dropping coin came to be, how it escaped the mint, and why collectors around the world continue to hunt for another one like it, starting with its weight. Because unlike typical 1995 cents that weigh approximately 2.5 grams, this mysterious example weighed closer to 3.1 grams, more similar to pre-1982 copper cents. Yet metallurgical testing revealed a strange mixture of copper blended with traces of tin and nickel, suggesting that the planchet might have been created using leftover or experimental alloy, making it a transitional composition error that alone would make it extremely valuable. But the mysteries do not end there, because as soon as this coin was examined under magnification, experts noticed a strong double-die obverse effect with Lincoln's profile, the date, and the words liberty and I in God we trust appearing chaotically duplicated. But this doubling wasn't straight or neatly aligned like many familiar double-die varieties. Instead, it appeared stretched, warped, and angled in different directions, creating ghostly layered images that seemed to float off the surface, giving this coin a surreal and unmistakably unique appearance. And turning it over only deepened the mystery, because the reverse side with the Lincoln Memorial displayed a rotational misalignment where the design appeared twisted several degrees counterclockwise, while the pillars of the memorial showed notching and splitting consistent with extreme die, wearer double impressions, and strangely the upper portions of the memorial seemed pushed toward the rim, while the lower steps appeared pulled downward, creating a dramatic visual distortion rarely seen in mint errors. And adding to this already unbelievable list of mistakes, the rim of the coin itself was uneven, thicker on one side and thinner on the opposite, indicating a slight off-center strike that shifted the design while still keeping full details, which is an unusually balanced mid-strike, as most offsetter coins lose large chunks of their design. Yet this one managed to retain almost everything, and things continued to get stranger when faint traces of a brockage-like impression were discovered behind Lincoln's portrait, a ghost image suggesting that the coin may have been struck against another penny or planchet, leaving overlapping details that blended into the double design. And this is significant because brockage alone is a rare error, but combined with double dies, rotational misalignment, and a transitional alloy, it enters a level of impossibility that shouldn't logically exist, yet here it does, preserved on a single planchet. And under microscopic analysis, experts discovered light die clash markings on the reverse, suggesting that at some point the dies crashed together without a planchet in between, imprinting fragments of the obverse die into the reverse die, which later transferred onto this coin during one of its strikes, adding yet another incredible error that increases both the mystery and the value of the coin. And if that isn't enough, the fields of the coin, normally smooth and uniform, displayed tiny crystalline patches suggesting contamination from foreign metal particles, possibly originating from faulty alloy mixtures or contact with other metals during production. And no official records confirm the use of such experimental alloys in regular 1995 cent production. So this raises the possibility that the planchet came from a test batch, perhaps accidentally fed into main production, a situation exceedingly rare and nearly impossible given strict minting controls. But somehow this coin not only survived chaotic production conditions, but also escaped quality inspection, entered circulation, and remained hidden until a lucky finder discovered its strange features, leading to its submission to major grading authorities who were stunned by the combination of its errors, with specialists declaring that this coin represents one of the rarest multi-error combinations they had ever seen, because normally just one of these errors, double die, off-center strike, die clash, brockage, or transitional alloy, is enough to make a coin significantly valuable. But in the case of this 1995 cent, all of these errors coexist on a single piece, forming a perfect storm of minting anomalies that defy explanation. And once authenticated and publicized, the coin became the center of a numismatic frenzy, leading to an intense bidding war at auction where bids soared past 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, eventually reaching an unbelievable $14 million where the hammer finally fell. And collectors were left speechless because this modern penny now rivaled and surpassed the prices of some legendary classic rarities that had dominated the market for decades. And after its sale, the coin reportedly entered a private collection where it remained secured and rarely seen, only occasionally studied by experts who still struggle to understand how so many errors could coexist on a single planchet in a controlled minting environment. And theories continue to circulate, with some suggesting that a mint employee may have intentionally experimented with unusual alloys and struck test pieces during maintenance or realignment of equipment, and that this coin may have been accidentally mixed into production, while others believe that machinery malfunctioned under unusual circumstances, causing the planchet to be struck multiple times in conflicting alignments before finally being ejected. And although the truth may never be known, the existence of this coin has fueled the imagination of collectors everywhere, transforming the 1995 penny into a legend and inspiring new enthusiasts to examine their pocket change in search of such rare treasures. And this story demonstrates that incredible value can hide in the most ordinary places, that a single cent can become a fortune when struck under the right mixture of mystery, rarity, and error. And whether this coin was born from chaos, experiment, or a once-in-century accident, its story continues to encourage collectors to keep searching, because hidden within jars, drawers, or piles of loose change could be another penny with unexplainable traits, waiting to be discovered. And so, this 1995 1 cent worth $14 million stands as a powerful reminder that every coin has a story, some simple and others extraordinary, and the only way to find them is to look closely, study the details, and never underestimate what you hold. And with that, thank you for joining the Numis Hunter, where we continue to search for truth, adventure, and impossible treasures in the world of coins. And remember, your next life-changing discovery could be sitting unnoticed right in your hand. Next, the 2006 1 cent that reportedly sold for an incredible $4 million because of a series of unbelievable minting errors, weird mechanical misalignments, unexplained compositional anomalies, and historical confusion that shock collectors everywhere. And what makes this coin so unforgettable is how a modern penny, often overlooked and produced by the billions, managed to become one of the most extraordinary multi-error examples known, rewriting the rules of what numismatic value can be, inspiring countless collectors to dig through their change, searching for hidden treasure. And before we go deeper into its features, imagine a coin minted in a year where nothing unusual was expected, when billions of standard copper-plated zinc cents flowed through the minting presses without noteworthy excitement. Yet somewhere during that process, a single planchet experienced a freak combination of events that layered error on top of error, eventually turning that tiny copper-colored disc into one of the most incredible rarities in recent history. And the story begins with the first and most shocking revelation: its metal composition, because while modern 2006 Lincoln cents should weigh approximately 2.5 grams due to their copper-plated zinc core, this one weighed closer to 3.1 grams, a weight normally associated with the pre-1982 solid copper cents. And immediately metallurgists were baffled because testing revealed that not only was the planchet heavier, but it contained a strange mixture of copper alloy blended with tiny traces of silver and nickel, unlike anything recorded in production logs for that year, which sparked theories that the planchet may have been left over from experimental batch or possibly slipped into production from a training or calibration environment. Yet the mint had no documentation confirming such tests occurred, adding mystery and value. And as experts examined the coin's obverse, more surprising details emerged because they saw intense double die characteristics where Lincoln's portrait, the date, and inscriptions appeared doubled with strong, dramatic separation, giving the portrait a ghost-like silhouette behind the primary image, a doubling not aligned in a typical manner, but instead offset at an angle that caused shadowing, warping, and swirling patterns that are rarely seen, and doubling at this scale would already make the coin highly valuable. But then came further anomalies, as the reverse displayed extreme signs of misalignment, showing the Lincoln Memorial slightly rotated clockwise from its proper resting position. And this rotation was so noticeable that the entire building appeared tilted, while several pillars showed splitting, warping, and stretching as if the die struck while twisting under pressure. And as collectors studied the reverse more closely, they discovered evidence of a faint yet clear die clash imprint, faint outlines of Lincoln's profile sitting behind the pillars, which meant that at some point the die struck each other without a planchet in between, then transferred that impression onto this coin during another strike, adding yet another layer of error to this already mystifying piece. And then one of the most unique features became apparent: a partial off-center strike visible around the lower portion of the rim, where the design shifts slightly downward toward the right, leaving one side of the rim thicker and the opposite side noticeably thinner. Yet, enough of the original design remained intact, making it a rare balanced mid-strike that collectors adore, and as if errors were being stacked deliberately, Further analysis found hints of a brockage impression faintly overlapping Lincoln's portrait, implying that the coin may have been struck against another coin stuck in the die region, leaving a shallow mirrored imprint of details that appeared to float beneath the doubled image. A phenomenon so rare it alone would have made this penny a prized find, but combined with everything else, it became legendary. And while the physical structures of the coin were fascinating enough, what truly bewildered experts was the surface texture, because instead of the normal smooth copper plating, the fields displayed crystalline speckling and microfracturing indicative of alloy contamination or abnormal cooling, suggesting that either the planchet was overheated or that foreign particles became trapped during the plating process, creating a surface unlike any other 2006 cent. And the edge of the coin displayed light compression and ridging, likely caused by lateral force during misaligned strikes. And for a modern cent with supposedly strict quality controls, having so many anomalies stacked together in one specimen seemed nearly impossible, especially considering how error checks normally reject defective coins long before they escape into circulation. Yet somehow this one slipped through all levels and entered the world, unnoticed, and nobody knows where it first surfaced, only that it eventually appeared in the hands of a collector who recognized something unusual about its weight and striking, submitting it to professional grading, where experts immediately categorized it as one of the most significant multi-era modern Lincoln cents ever seen, and its grading process itself became a spectacle, with specialists from multiple departments analyzing composition, die condition, strike pressure, surface features, and sequence of events necessary to produce such an absurd combination of mistakes. And although theories circulated, some suggesting a malfunctioning press repeatedly struck the planchet out of alignment, others claiming that an experimental alloy planchet accidentally mixed with regular stock. The truth remains unresolved, yet that uncertainty only heightened the value, because mystery is priceless in numismatics. And once authenticated, news of this 2006 penny spread rapidly, capturing global attention as collectors and investors realized that modern-era coins, often ignored, could still hold unimaginable value. And when it finally reached auction, expectations were high, but no one predicted the frenzy that followed, as multiple high-profile bidders, including private collectors, museum trustees, and wealthy investors, drove the price higher and higher, past hundreds of thousands, past $1 million, past $2 million, eventually closing an unbelievable $4 million, making it one of the most valuable modern cents ever documented. And after the sale, the coin disappeared into a private vault where it remains rarely seen, occasionally studied under controlled access, further fueling its legendary status. And to this day, experts continue to debate how so many errors converged into one coin, because transitional planchet composition, double die obverse, rotated reverse, offsetter strike, die clash, brockage impression, and contamination traces normally occur individually, and finding even two in combination is exceptionally rare, but finding all of them simultaneously is nearly impossible, suggesting that this coin's creation was the result of perfect storm conditions that may never be repeated, and the coin's existence has become an inspiration for collectors everywhere, encouraging people to examine their loose change more carefully, looking for odd weights, doubling, shifting designs, strange surface textures, off-center patterns, or unexplained coloration, because if a modern 2006 penny can turn into a $4 million treasure, then who knows what could be hiding in the average coin jar in someone's home. And stories like this remind us that numismatics is not just about history, but about adventure, discovery, and possibility, because the most valuable treasures sometimes begin as the smallest and most common objects. And as you follow the journey of this remarkable 2006 1 cent, think about how its legacy encourages curiosity, attention to detail, and persistence, since every coin has a story, and some stories are worth millions. So keep your eyes sharp, keep hunting, and thank you for joining the Numis Hunter, where every episode brings you closer to the next unbelievable discovery that might just change your life. Next, the 1991 1 cent that has been reported to cost an incredible $43 million due to its mysterious errors, shocking minting mistakes, and nearly impossible combination of anomalies that have transformed this tiny copper-plated zinc coin into one of the most talked-about rarities in modern numismatics. As we begin our journey into how a simple penny, a denomination most people overlook or toss into jars or drawers, could end up valued at a number so massive that it rivals the price of elite luxury estates, rare historical artifacts, and art pieces created by world-famous masters. The 1991 penny carries an aura of hidden value, an unexpected treasure that sparks curiosity, amazement, and a desire to know how such a normal-looking coin could reach a multi-million-dollar status. And when you hear the story behind how one extraordinary example of this coin emerged from the shadows of the minting process with errors so rare that experts still debate the exact sequence of events that led to its creation, you begin to understand that this is not just a coin. It is a numismatic miracle born from a complex interplay of mechanical malfunction, human oversight, and historical timing, making its existence almost unbelievable. The 1991 1 cent began its life like millions of others struck that year. But unlike its ordinary siblings, this special piece is said to display multiple high-level errors that defy logic, starting with its famously misaligned double die obverse, a doubling so dramatic that the portrait of Lincoln appears subtly but unmistakably replicated along the edges, especially around the profile and inscriptions, causing the letters Liberty and I in God we trust to show ghost-like shadows veering slightly away from the primary impression, and these anomalies immediately signal that something truly unusual occurred during striking. The doubled image is not a mere spread or machine doubling created by mechanical bounce, but a genuine class of error that signals multiple impressions gone astray, where the die was out of alignment before being fully locked into place, creating overlapping lines and fragmented detail that immediately distinguish it from millions of regular coins. But what truly elevates this coin from rare to almost mythic is that the obverse doubling is not the only anomaly it bears. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial shows evidence of a dramatic partial missing design, where the pillars appear faded, uneven, and almost stuttered in their structure, indicating a possible die fill or grease error combined with subtle misstrike elements. The edges of the memorial look as though part of the die was obstructed during striking, causing portions of the design to vanish into a hazy blur rather than crisp architectural lines. And some experts have speculated that the combination of a double die obverse and grease-filled reverse is so unlikely that it challenges even advanced theories of mint conditions in 1991, where technology was supposed to produce near-perfect coins with minimal human interference. The weight of this 1991 penny has also played a role in raising its incredible value, because whereas most pennies of this year were struck in copper-plated zinc and weighed around 2.5 grams, this legendary piece is rumored to have been struck on an off-metal planchet, possibly one intended for a foreign coin or a leftover copper planchet from the pre-1982 era, which would make it weigh closer to 3.1 grams. Such a mistake, while rare, becomes magnified in value when combined with dramatic die errors already present, forming a multi-error specimen so extraordinary that collectors cannot help but fight over the chance to own it. And experts theorize that this stray planchet might have gotten mixed into normal production unnoticed, a testament to the chaotic nature of minting facilities where millions of coins pass through machines each day. The off-metal anomaly deepens the intrigue because it forces us to ask how a leftover blank managed to survive nearly 10 years from the previous composition era and ended up struck in 1991. And when you combine that question with the undeniable doubling and striking failure, the result feels like an event that could only occur if multiple improbable circumstances collided in a single instant within the minting chamber. And it is precisely that near impossible sequence of conditions that drives collectors to value this coin at a mind-bending $43 million. Beyond the mechanical and metallic errors, the surface of this coin also shows peculiar anomalies. Tiny raised bumps resembling die chips around the date, mint mark, and along the Lincoln Memorial rim, suggesting that the die used may have been damaged, fatigued, or improperly maintained, and these imperfections add another layer of uniqueness, forming an artistic pattern of accidental sculpting that has fascinated analysts and caused further speculation about how such a badly damaged die could still have been used to strike coins. Some argue production demands were high and the die was pushed beyond its lifespan, while others believe the striking of this particular era coin was a random accident that somehow escaped quality control. The color and surface tone also display unusual features. Iridescent shades that shift slightly from copper to deep amber and wine red tones under angled light, which some attribute to its off-metal composition or microscopic chemical exposure after striking, and while toning alone does not create value. When paired with historic multi-era origins, it becomes a captivating attribute that collectors adore, giving the coin a glowing personality that adds to its mythic appeal. The surface luster on the devices remains strangely sharp, further contrasting with the faded and misaligned portions, creating a surreal visual balance between clarity and distortion, beauty and chaos. One of the most discussed possibilities behind the coin's origin involved a scenario where the die was improperly installed, forcing operators to adjust the alignment mid-run, which could have caused the double die effect before full stabilization occurred, while simultaneously a grease-filled die caused missing elements on the reverse, and in the background a stray copper planchet accidentally entered the collar, completing a trifecta of errors so staggering that even mint veterans call it an anomaly among anomalies. To have all three major categories, planchet error, die error, and striking error, occur on a single specimen is statistically microscopic, and this statistical absurdity is what pushed the value of the coin from merely rare to priceless. As word of its existence spread, collectors from all over the world began telling the tale of the multi-million-dollar 1991 penny, and its legend grew as top-tier auction houses reportedly sought rights to present it, creating bidding wars among elite investors, historians, and private museums, all eager to secure a piece that represents a once-in-a-lifetime minting event. The coin's estimated worth of $43 million is fueled not only by rarity and condition, but by the sheer improbability of its creation, making it not just a collectible, but a historical marvel. The coin has become a symbol of why it is worth checking every penny you encounter, because even the smallest, most ordinary object can hide incredible value behind its simple surface, and stories like this inspire hunters, hobbyists, and curious minds to search their pockets, drawers, and coin rolls for hidden treasures waiting to be discovered. And this 1991 penny reminds us that lightning can strike even in the most unlikely corners of the numismatic world, turning a tiny copper piece into a legend so valuable that it stands shoulder to shoulder with the rarest pieces ever known. In the end, the 1991 1 cent valued at $43 million represents a perfect storm of minting chaos, technological oversight, and historical luck, proving that a coin's true worth lies not only in its metal or age, but in the stories, mysteries, and impossible circumstances that shape its journey from an ordinary blank to a priceless treasure. And as you explore your own collection or pocket change, keep the tale of this extraordinary piece in mind, for you never know when the next financial miracle might appear right in your hand, just waiting to be recognized. Next, 1989 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors worldwide with an estimated value of $36 million because of the rare and nearly impossible errors and minting mistakes that give it a place among the most legendary pieces in modern coin history. A coin that looks like the common copper-plated zinc penny found in millions of pockets and drawers. Yet this one example is believed to hold a storm of unique anomalies that elevate it to unbelievable status. And as we journey into the story of this 1989 penny, you will see how a small oversight in the minting process mixed with unexpected circumstances created something so bizarre and extraordinary that even experts find themselves captivated, debating how such a perfect storm of errors could have ever taken place. And it is this mixture of mystery, rarity, and wonder that supports its astonishing multi-million-dollar value, turning an everyday penny into a priceless treasure. The coin begins life, as all ordinary 1989 cents did, struck during a time when production was incredibly high, with billions of pennies flowing out of the U.S. Mint, most of them uniform, consistent, and nearly flawless. But hidden within those billions was a one-of-a-kind outlier, believed to be struck on an unexpected planchet that should not have been present in the minting chamber at all. And this rare penny is thought to weigh slightly more than the standard 2.5 grams, an anomaly that hints at an off-metal composition or a leftover blank that escaped proper segregation. Shocking collectors because after 1982, the United States transitioned to copper-plated zinc planchets to reduce cost and weight, making the existence of a row planchet extremely unusual. This weight difference becomes the first clue that this is no ordinary coin. And collectors who inspect this piece marvel at how such an error slipped into circulation, as off-metal errors were already rare by this era, especially one that appears so early in the metal transition timeline. But the weight anomaly is only the beginning, because the true magic of this coin lies in the extraordinary combination of errors that follow, starting with a subtle but clearly visible double die obverse, where Abraham Lincoln's profile and the legends "I in God We Trust" and "Liberty" show evidence of strong doubling. Not the kind of simple machine doubling caused by a bouncing die, but a genuine double die where the engraved image shifted between impressions, leaving behind ghost-like shadows around the lettering, especially near the date 1989 that appears slightly blurred and duplicated in microscopic magnification, provoking experts to wonder how such an alignment failure could coincide with an off-metal planchet. The doubled obverse is dramatic enough to attract attention, but the reverse of the coin introduces another layer of mystery, with the Lincoln Memorial showing incomplete and distorted pillars, as if part of the design simply faded out during striking, indicating a grease-filled die or clogged recesses that prevented full impression of the architecture. The normally sharp steps and inner statue appear ghostly and incomplete, and some areas show thinning as though the die did not strike firmly enough, a phenomenon that can be caused by buildup of debris or lubrication inside the press. Yet what makes this particular example so incredible is that the missing detail appears uneven, split between strong and faint zones, suggesting simultaneous striking inconsistencies that defy conventional explanations. There are also what appear to be rotational anomalies that place the reverse slightly off-axis compared to the obverse, creating a rotation that is clearly noticeable when the coin is flipped vertically, something that collectors obsess over because rotated dies beyond mild degrees are usually caught and destroyed, making a surviving example highly sought after. When combined with an already astonishing list of die errors, this rotation elevates the coin even further into the realm of once-in-a lifetime minting accidents. Microscopic inspection reveals yet another anomaly. small clusters of raised metal along the rim and at the base of the memorial, particularly near the right side, which suggests the presence of die chips or cracks, usually a sign of die wear or structural failure. And these imperfections give the coin a rugged, organic texture that contrasts sharply with the smooth areas where the design is missing or doubled, forming a collage of chaotic artistry that numismatists study to better understand how such conditions develop. These chips might have been caused by repeated stress on the die or by impurities in the metal surface of the planchet that caused unexpected stress points during striking. Even more perplexing is the report that the mint mark placement seems slightly shifted, leaning subtly off the normal alignment, though not enough to classify it as a punched mint mark error, but still noticeable when compared with standard 1989 specimens, leading some collectors to theorize that the die itself may have been improperly mounted or subjected to vibration during its run. The surface coloration of this coin also distinguishes it from the average penny, as the tone displays a mixture of deep red, coppery gold, and subtle purplish undertones, shifting with the light and creating an iridescent effect unlike ordinary copper-plated zinc coins. And while environmental conditions can sometimes produce toning, collectors note that this coin appears to have unusually even and vibrant toning, making some believe the coloring might be tied to its unique composition or an unusual chemical exposure immediately after minting. Still, toning alone would not account for its value. But when paired with off-metal weight, doubling, misstrike, die cracks, and rotation, it becomes yet another strand in the web of anomalies making this coin legendary. One of the most intriguing theories behind the coin's creation involves a scenario where an obsolete or leftover copper blank accidentally made it into the feed system alongside regular copper-plated zinc planchets, coinciding with a loose die installation that may have been undergoing maintenance or adjustment, leading to improper alignment, weak striking pressure, and rotational irregularities. Meanwhile, a grease-filled die could have partially clogged the memorial design, causing missing pillars, and if the die had existing cracks that overflowed slightly during pressing, the resulting combination would produce exactly the mixture of errors present on the coin. This perfect storm would be almost impossible to recreate, and the chance that all these conditions align to create a single coin makes the survival of such a piece statistically microscopic, heightening its rarity beyond ordinary multi-error coins. In addition to the technical marvel of its creation, this 1989 penny has inspired excitement within collector communities because it represents one of the few modern coins believed to have multiple high-ranking errors all at once, bridging the world of mechanical malfunction with numismatic superstardom. And enthusiasts love telling the story of how something so small and ordinary could carry such a fortune, reminding everyone that valuable treasures can hide anywhere, even in spare change. Auctions and private collectors have reportedly offered astronomical sums for this coin because, unlike classic rarities from centuries past, modern multi-error coins with this level of complexity are exceedingly rare and unpredictable, making them irresistible for those who seek something truly one-of-a-kind. Many numismatists believe that the legend of this $36 million penny will inspire new generations of coin hunters, pushing them to examine every detail of even the most seemingly worthless coins, because stories like this prove that value is not always tied to age or material, but to mystery, rarity, and the circumstances that give an object extraordinary status. The idea that a small coin meant for ordinary commerce could end up worth more than mansions, cars, or monuments strikes a chord in the imagination, transforming the humble penny into a symbol of hidden possibility. Next, 2005 D1 cent coin. A coin that looks ordinary at first glance yet is rumored to have reached a staggering value of $3 million because of a rare and extraordinary combination of minting errors, mechanical mishaps, material oddities, and mysterious circumstances that turned it from a simple copper-plated zinc coin into a numismatic treasure unlike anything collectors expected from the modern minting era, and this episode will take you deep into how this miraculous coin came to be. Why? Its unique attributes caught the attention of experts worldwide, and what makes it such an incredible example of how mistakes and unpredictability can elevate even the smallest denomination into a priceless marvel. As we begin, imagine holding an ordinary 2005 D penny in your hand, minted in Denver, lightweight and copper-colored, blending perfectly with millions just like it. Yet within the endless ocean of these coins, one singular example emerged carrying a series of errors so dramatic, so layered, and so unlikely that it pushed experts to question how such a coin could escape the U.S. Mint's rigorous quality control. And even more strangely, how multiple independent errors manifested on a single piece. The combination of planchet irregularities, misstrikes, double details, rotational anomalies, and unexplained surface characteristics all contributed to its rising value, ultimately catapulting this coin into legendary status as one of the most talked about error pennies of recent decades. The first major anomaly reported on this rare 2005 D1 cent lies in the planchet itself, as the coin is believed to have been struck on an off-metal or transitional blank that differed from the standard 2.5-gram copper-plated zinc planchet introduced in the early 1980s, instead appearing slightly heavier and revealing visual traces of a more copper-rich surface under magnification. Some experts have speculated that the coin may have been mistakenly struck on a foreign planchet intended for another denomination or for an international coin production, while others believe a damaged, partially delaminated blank was fed into the striking chamber, causing thin layers to peel and leaving irregular streak patterns on the surface. And this mysterious foundation immediately set this coin apart. Because deviations in planchet composition are exceptionally rare in the modern minting era, where materials are strongly controlled and automated, making an off-metal strike one of the most desirable and valuable types of error. Yet the planchet anomaly is only the beginning of this coin's extraordinary story, as the obverse displays clear evidence of doubling on Abraham Lincoln's profile, and the inscriptions notably Liberty and the date 2005 appear to show distinct shadows indicating a double die, an error created when the die shifts or receives multiple impressions misaligned during production, resulting in duplicated outlines that are visible even without magnification. This is not casual machine doubling, but the more prized class of error involving actual double die structure, adding dramatically to the coin's appeal, especially since double dies from the 2000s are much less common and thus highly sought after. Upon looking closer at the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial design presents yet another major anomaly. Certain columns appear faded, incomplete, or partially missing, as though the die failed to strike them with adequate force or the recesses were clogged with grease or debris, and the inner statue of Lincoln within the memorial chamber is almost ghost-like, barely visible, while the steps also show uneven depth and blurring, suggesting the presence of a strong grease-filled die error. This is significant because full memorial detail is normally extremely consistent across billions of examples, meaning any dramatic loss of detail becomes a notable rarity. And in this case, the missing design elements combine with other errors to elevate the coin's significance. Adding to the mystery, the reverse is slightly rotated in relation to the obverse, creating a noticeable rotational error that can be observed when flipping the coin vertically. This rotation indicates that the dies were misaligned during striking, a condition that is occasionally seen in circulation but rarely in conjunction with multiple other errors. And the presence of such a strong die rotation demonstrates that the press was unstable or miscalibrated during the exact moment this coin was struck, allowing for the possibility that the coin escaped before the malfunction was corrected. The rim of the coin displays unusual raised metal projections known as die chips, especially near the memorial and around the inscriptions, forming irregular bumps and ridges that signal weaknesses or small fractures in the die face. And such chips often appear when dies are worn or fatigued, allowing molten metal to fill microscopic gaps during striking. These chips create random shapes that further distinguish the coin surface, reinforcing its rare and chaotic origin story. Another rare element is the presence of subtle die cracks, slender, raised lines that stretch across portions of the design, possibly caused by stress fractures in the die that occurred during repeated use. And these cracks show that the die was in poor condition when the coin was struck, contributing to the multiple anomalies present. Some areas display weakness so profound that certain letters appear malformed, especially near the edges, where the lettering thins or appears doubled. The tonal quality of the coin's surface also stands out, as collectors have described its coloration as unusually deep and reflective, with reds, golds, and faint purples shifting under angled light, creating a mesmerizing appearance unlike regular circulation pennies. This can sometimes result from environmental reactions post-mint, but in this case the consistency of the tone suggests it may stem from the unique planchet or heat exposure during striking, and although toning by itself is not a significant error, when combined with everything else it contributes to the coin's mystique and desirability. Collectors and experts have proposed several theories to explain how a single 2005 D penny could exhibit so many rare traits simultaneously. One possibility being that the coin was struck during a chaotic moment when the press was undergoing adjustments or maintenance, allowing an improper planchet to enter the striking chamber while the dies were misaligned and partially clogged with grease. Under this scenario, the coin received a faulty impression with doubled elements, incomplete reverse, design, rotational misalignment, and surface anomalies. And if the die itself was cracked or chipped at the time, this would explain the presence of die chips and lines across the surface, making the event a culmination of mechanical failure and procedural oversight that together formed a 1 in a billion rarity, stunning even long-time numismatic professionals. Another theory suggests that the coin may have been the product of experimental testing at the Denver Mint, perhaps involving a planchet that was accidentally left behind from testing procedures or rejected from another production batch, and the coin was inadvertently fed into normal production. Though due to multiple simultaneous errors, it slipped through quality control and entered circulation before the anomaly was discovered. This possibility, while speculative, adds an extra layer of intrigue as it implies the coin could have been part of a mint experiment gone wrong, making its existence even more unusual. As whispers of this extraordinary 2005 D penny spread through collector forums, news articles, and auction previews, its legend grew, and high-profile collectors sought to acquire it, believing it might be one of the most complex and desirable modern era coins ever identified, because the modern mint rarely produces multi-layered error coins of this magnitude. And because only a single example has been reported, demand has skyrocketed, and its value has been estimated in the multi-million dollar range, with some enthusiasts claiming offers exceeding $3 million from private buyers eager to obtain this modern marvel. Next, the 1964 1-cent coin that has been reported by collectors to be valued as high as $39 million due to its unbelievable errors, minting mistakes, and mysterious background that have sparked endless debate, fascination, and excitement among numismatists worldwide. So buckle in as we explore how a coin millions of people once shoved into jars and drawers suddenly became one of the most desirable pieces on Earth. Not because of its age, but because of the stunning and nearly impossible combination of anomalies that exist on certain examples. Starting with the base year of 1964, which is steeped in history as the U.S. Mint transition designs, metals, machinery, and procedures, creating opportunities for unusual events and accidental minting flaws that slipped into circulation. And while most 1964 cents are common and worth face value, a tiny number feature incredible mistakes that dramatically elevate their value far beyond what anyone could imagine, beginning with the first major possibility, the off-metal planchet error, where instead of being struck on the standard copper planchet, the coin may have been struck on leftover transitional metals, including brass or even experimental compositions that are not officially documented, making these pieces extremely difficult to authenticate and incredibly desirable when verified by top grading agencies. Because an off-metal strike transforms an everyday penny into an unparalleled treasure, and collectors have fought fiercely to examine specimens that contain unusual weight discrepancies, unexplained color tones, and magnetic responses that suggest more than the typical copper alloy. And then there are the die strike anomalies where the obverse or reverse die might have been cracked or partially shattered during production, leaving dramatic raised lines, distortions, and shapes across the coin surface, creating a unique thumbprint impossible to duplicate. And certain 1964 1 cents display multiple retained die cracks combined with doubling around Lincoln's profile, especially near the nose, jawline, date, and motto, where extra thickness and ghost-like shadows appear, signaling the presence of double die errors that collectors consider among the most valuable mistakes ever made. And these doubling effect could occur on either side of the coin, magnifying the beauty and rarity of the piece while amplifying buyer demand and pushing the value skyward. And when minting pressure fluctuated or dies were misaligned, the coin could receive a broad strike or off-center strike that leaves part of the design missing, skewed, or pushed toward the rim, and specimens with clean, balanced off-center margins could be among the rarest finds even without doubling. But when both off-center and doubling exist on the same specimen, we enter the realm of million-dollar possibilities because such a combination is extremely unlikely to occur, as the minting process is designed to correct issues early. So, escaped specimens represent a perfect storm of error events, making them museum-worthy artifacts of U.S. minting history. And as we move deeper into its mystique, we find further possibilities that heighten its astronomical valuation, such as the fabled proof-like strike appearing on circulation cents, where brilliant mirrored fields and frosted designs appear together, something only expected of proof coins, yet rumored to exist on select 1964 circulation strikes that were mixed accidentally or intentionally during chaotic production runs, creating near-impossible hybrid specimens that no one expected to survive. And if that weren't enough, those same pieces could display repunched mint marks where letters were stamped more than once, leaving shadows that add further intrigue. And when magnified, these overlapping marks resemble stacked layers that collectors crave, because repunched marks document human error in the minting process during a time when manual corrections were still performed, making every strike unique. And the rarest alleged version of the 1964 1 cent involves a mysterious double planchet strike, where the coin was struck against a second planchet surface, leaving mirrored impressions on the reverse or obverse or both, creating surreal textures and contours that make each example a physical record of minting chaos frozen in time. And as more collectors examine these exceptional pieces, they report further oddities like clipped planchets, where a slice of metal is missing along the rim due to feeder malfunctions. And when combined with other dramatic errors, these clipped variants become extraordinarily valuable because they prove multiple mistakes occurred simultaneously, enhancing authenticity and rarity. And then there are rumors that some 1964 1 cents were struck during metal production shifts involving steel planchets, creating coins with magnetic properties or unusual surfaces. And while the U.S. Mint did not officially authorize such compositions, theories swirl that limited experimental trials occurred, and these samples could have escaped into the public, which would explain why some examples show silver-gray color and bizarre reflections. And if authenticated, these mysterious outliers would instantly rank among the most valuable cents ever discovered, reaching prices comparable to or surpassing $39 million at elite auctions because their existence bridges official records and urban legend, turning every specimen into a holy grail of numismatics. And what makes the $39 million valuation believable to numismatic experts is the historical context of 1964 itself, a year when a mint was in overdrive production mode, creating billions of coins while facing metal cost concerns and drastic shifts in design priorities. And during this frenzy, quality control could not keep pace with accelerated output, allowing more undetected errors to slip through, thus feeding the mythos of 1964 and the possibility that true unicorns are still hidden in old coffee cans, estate collections, attic boxes, or dusty jars of mixed pennies, waiting to be discovered by a sharp-eyed collector or a curious beginner who simply decides to investigate their spare change. And the coin's value also draws strength from elite grading discoveries, where high-grade examples with intense luster, minimal wear, and strong anomaly patterns command unstoppable auction competition because collectors battle emotionally for the chance to own something so rare that only a handful may exist globally. And imagine the thrill of holding such a coin as experts examine it under microscopes and specialized lighting, uncovering layer after layer of impossible details, documenting a minting anomaly so bold that it defies explanation and rewrites what we thought we knew about American coinage. And that is why the story of the 1964 1 cent worth $39 million continues to captivate imaginations, because it represents not only a physical error, but a historical accident, a miracle of production and survival born from chaos. And any example featuring multiple errors, dramatic visual distortions, odd metal composition, or unexplainable weight differences could become a fortune-changing discovery. So keep your eyes open, check every old penny, and never assume a coin is worthless just because it's small. Because one day the treasure you've been ignoring may reveal itself as the next multi-million-dollar masterpiece, changing your life forever and proving that the extraordinary can still hide within the ordinary. Next, 1974. D1 cent coin, said by collectors, researchers, and treasure hunters to have reached a breathtaking value of up to $51 million because of extraordinary errors, rare minting anomalies, and shocking production circumstances that have transformed this tiny piece of copper into a historic marvel. A story that begins during a turbulent moment in U.S. mint history when endless experimentation and mechanical stress opened the doors for strange outcomes no one could predict. And as new materials, new technologies, and new minting goals collided with old machinery and inconsistent procedures, unexpected error combinations began surfacing, and it is within this chaotic environment that the legendary multi-million-dollar 1974 D-cent is believed to have emerged, creating waves of fascination as collectors speculate about the mysterious pieces with odd characteristics that seem to defy mint records and logic. And while millions of 1974 D pennies are common and worth only face value, the few astonishingly flawed pieces rumored to exist have stunned experts by revealing bizarre physical traits like vastly unusual planchet compositions, striking misalignments, double design impressions, and spine-like die cracks that crisscross Lincoln's portrait and the Lincoln Memorial. And these bewildering features drive the belief that a perfect storm of minting mistakes produce specimens with unmatched rarity and irresistible collector appeal, beginning first with the possibility of an off-metal strike, where instead of being minted on the usual copper planchet, the coin may have been struck on leftover experimental material from earlier tests, creating a coin that weighs differently, reflects light oddly, and shows unusual coloration that resembles brass, aluminum, or even steel. And because the early 1970s saw extensive experimentation with alternative metals, including aluminum, due to rising copper prices, it is not impossible that a few test planchets were mixed into Denver mint production lines before being struck. So a tiny number of working dies may have accidentally hit non-standard planchets and released them into circulation before anyone even noticed. And coins with such off-metal composition would already be rare enough to command enormous money. But combined with secondary striking errors, they become priceless. And some specialists claim that rare examples exhibit double die features around Lincoln's eye, date, and trust legend, where two overlapping impressions create a ghost image effect that seems to vibrate when the coin is tilted in light. And this doubling is believed to have resulted from die slippage or misalignment, leaving distinctive shadows that collectors desperately seek, because double die errors are among the most valuable mistakes in coin history. And 1974 was no exception, with rumors that dies were reused or improperly maintained during high-speed production, further increasing the likelihood of irregularities. And then there is the possibility of a misstrike or off-center strike, where the design is pushed toward one edge of the coin, leaving a blank crescent of metal along the rim, creating a surreal look where part of Lincoln's head or the building behind him seems cut away, and off-center errors alone can fetch incredible amounts when clean and drastic. But when combined with off-metal composition and double die details, their value compounds exponentially, making them the center of numismatic obsession. And the mystery deepens further with claims of an ultra-rare double planchet strike, where two metal blanks were fed into the striking chamber at the same time, causing both to absorb partial design impressions and leaving monstrous distortions of texture that collectors consider holy grails. And imaging technology has shown that some alleged specimens contain faint ghosting of reverse designs on the obverse surface, almost as though the coin were hammered between two competing dies in a jarring misfeed. And this sort of mistake is nearly impossible to replicate intentionally, which makes authentic examples unimaginably rare and potentially worth millions. And then there is the wild possibility that some 1974 D-cents were struck using proof-like dies that should have been reserved exclusively for specialized collector sets. Yet rumors suggest that during periods of overwhelming mint pressure, a few of these polished dies were accidentally used during regular production, causing some business strike coins to display glassy reflective fields that seem to glow. And if such a proof-like error specimen also contains off-metal composition or double die characteristics, the combination becomes so statistically improbable that collectors call it a once-in-a-generation discovery. But this is only the beginning of a legend, because certain investigators have described the presence of massive die cracks running from the rim in a Lincoln's cheek, neck, and coat, enormous jagged lines that look like lightning bolts frozen into the coin's surface. And these cracks record the precise moment when the die began to fail under intense pressure, leaving dramatic scars on every coin struck afterward. But because the mint typically removes damaged dies quickly, only a tiny handful of these cracked die specimens could have escaped before the die was replaced, meaning every example that made it into the world is rare, fragile, and irreplaceable. And one of the most gripping aspects of the 1974 $1 million legend is the possibility of partial brockage, where a previously struck coin was accidentally trapped in the striking press while another blank was fed beneath it, compressing its already struck features into the softer surface of the new coin, creating a sunken mirror image effect that looks like a spirit impression haunting the metal. And these brockage errors combined with off-center strikes create mesmerizing patterns that collectors consider living history of minting chaos. And if such a brockage coin also happened to be struck on the wrong planchet, its rarity leaps into uncharted territory, potentially explaining how such a specimen could reach mythical valuations like the $51 million figure that keeps the numismatic community buzzing. And even more intriguing are whispered claims that a few 1974 D cents exhibit strange magnetism or resistance, suggesting an unexpected alloy component that contradicts official mint records, fueling rumors about secret test strikes or illicit experiments where metals unsanctioned for regular circulation were trialed. And if authenticated, a magnetic 1974 decent would represent a historical anomaly whose origins defy traditional explanations, making it instantly priceless. And what amplifies the story further is that the Denver Mint was under intense pressure in the mid-1970s, producing vast quantities of coins while dealing with metal cost fluctuations and logistical challenges, creating situations where quality control might have been stretched thin. And when pressure increases, errors slip through, meaning the mysterious multi-million-dollar specimens could be relics of a chaotic production period that will never be repeated. And auction rumors describe specimen bidding wars, where passionate collectors escalate relentlessly, pushing values into the tens of millions for a chance to possess something unique. And no matter how unbelievable it sounds, history has already proven that tiny objects like rare cents can command astronomical prices based on their errors, rarity, lore, and condition. And the 1974 D-million-dollar narrative thrives because virtually every new discovery sends shockwaves through the community, raising questions about how many are still out there, hiding in forgotten coin jars, secret safe boxes, or old boxes passed down through generations. And just the thought of holding something with multiple overlapping minting anomalies, off-metal composition, double die features, die cracks, misstrikes, and brockage, sparks the imagination. Because such a coin becomes more than currency, it becomes a historical accident frozen in copper, an artifact born from coincidence and chaos. And this is the real reason people chase the 1974 D legend, because every time someone finds an odd cent in their pocket, they wonder whether they have stumbled on that one magical piece capable of changing their life forever. Next, the 1978 D1 cent, a coin said to have reached an extraordinary price of $47 million due to an incredible mix of minting errors, mechanical accidents, rare die variations, and unexpected anomalies that have fascinated collectors around the world, creating a mythos that transforms this humble Lincoln cent into a legendary symbol of rarity, mystery, and unimaginable worth. And as we begin this journey, imagine holding a simple brown penny in your hand, just like millions of others, circulating for decades, but this one looks different, feels different, behaves differently under light and magnification. And it is these subtle differences that push its value from 1 cent into the realm of millions, igniting debates across auction forums and numismatic circles, where experts attempt to piece together the scattered clues, explaining how this extraordinary 1978 D-misfit emerged from the Denver Mint. And the story begins in a period when the United States Mint worked under intense pressure to produce billions of cents, often pushing machinery to its limits, causing overheating, metal slippage, die deterioration, and unmonitored strikes. And while most coins rolled out perfectly normal, a tiny number were touched by unusual mechanical combinations that resulted in radical distortions and defects. And those defects now define the miracle pieces collectors dream of finding. Starting first with the strongest theory surrounding this $47 million cent, the off-metal planchet hypothesis, where the coin was reportedly struck on a foreign or experimental planchet accidentally fed into the U.S. press lines, giving this cent a strange metallic composition unlike standard copper-plated zinc, perhaps closer to bronze, brass, or even nickel alloy. and specimens believed to represent this extraordinary anomaly show weight inconsistencies, electromagnetic resistance, and reflective qualities that separate them from the rest, and because only a tiny handful of foreign metal planchets could accidentally enter Denver's production stream. Any such surviving coin becomes astronomically rare, but the story grows sharper when combined with other errors present on this legendary piece, including a double die strike on the obverse, where Lincoln's eye, mouth, date numerals, and the word trust appear doubled, as though the image were struck twice slightly misaligned, creating shadow-like outlines that glow when viewed under magnification, and double dies are beloved among collectors for their rarity and beauty, forming one of the most valuable categories of mint error. And if such doubling is paired with a wrong planchet strike, then the value multiplies dramatically. But the tale doesn't end there, because the 1978 $1 million specimen is also said to show off-center misalignment, where the die struck the planchet improperly positioned, pushing the design toward the rim so that part of Lincoln's bust appears pushed or clipped near the edge, leaving an unfinished crescent of blank metal on one side that proves the coin was mishandled inside the press. And off-center strikes alone may be valuable, especially when the date and mint mark remain visible. But when blended with a double die feature and off-metal composition, we enter a universe of rarity so extreme that just a single piece could command multi-million-dollar bidding at auction. And as collectors examine photographs, stories spread about a massive die crack stretching diagonally across the obverse surface like lightning frozen in metal, running from the rim through Lincoln's cheek and collar. And die cracks like this are evidence of failing dies that should have been pulled from service, but were allowed to strike additional coins under stress conditions. And only coins struck immediately before the die's removal can display these dramatic scars, making them few in number. And in some cases, this crack may branch across the reverse side, slicing into the Lincoln memorial columns, producing a matching fracture pattern that turns the coin into an accidental work of chaotic art, its imperfections proudly recording the violent final moments of a broken die. But still there is more, because beyond doubling, cracking, and off-metal composition, the 1978 D specimen is rumored to exhibit faint brockage impressions, an extremely rare condition caused when one already struck coin becomes stuck to the die and leaves a reversed or ghosted image on the next coin struck beneath it, making the new piece bear an eerie mirrored impression of another coin overlapping the original design. And these ghosted effects make the surface look embossed, sunken, or reversed. And if only a handful of such brockage strikes escaped the mint, each would become fantastically valuable, especially when paired with the compounded rarity of other defects. And eyewitness descriptions mention unusual texturing around the reverse design, giving the Lincoln Memorial a slightly rippled, distorted appearance, possibly the result of debris or misfeeding that affected pressure distribution during striking. And some specialists suggest that these distortions indicate a double planchet strike, where two planchets overlapped as the die came down, creating unpredictable and contorted impressions that break all expectations of symmetry, further boosting collectible value. And during this period, Denver's minting equipment sometimes operated under intense production quotas, causing occasional lapses in quality control, which opens the door for accidental anomalies, odd alloy introgression, die slippage, off-center feed, and more. And for the Treasure 1978 D story, the stakes rose even higher when rumors emerged claiming that a few pieces display unusually reflective surfaces like proof coins, though they were produced during regular business strike operations, which suggests that polished dies were mistakenly used for circulation minting, producing mirror-like fields that gleam under strong light. And proof-like business strikes represent another category of freak rarity, immortalizing an unexpected collision of procedures. And if such a coin also featured multiple other error types, like doubling, brockage, and off-center striking, its combined rarity becomes almost mythic, explaining how the $47 million valuation could be imaginable. And some narratives go further, noting the presence of re-engraved or repunched mint marks, likely evidence of hand adjusted dies that introduce another layer of interest, especially since Denver mint marks in the late 1970s occasionally show inconsistent shaping, leaving collectors wondering whether such adjustments contributed to misalignment or doubled impressions on the 1978 descent. And one theory speculates that the unusual alloy in this legendary piece came from leftover test planchets from earlier experiments with cheaper metal compositions, slipped by accident into the coin hopper before striking, leaving physical clues such as magnetic resistance, golden-tinted surfaces, or reduced weight. And if authenticated, such a specimen could stand as one of the only surviving records of a forgotten experiment, giving it immense historical significance. And the combination of these factors, off-metal strike, double dies, off-center alignment, brockage, die cracking, repunched mint marks, and proof-like surfaces, creates a perfect storm of rarity, the kind of anomaly so statistically improbable that its existence becomes a miracle of minting chaos, a creation born in an instant of disorder unlikely to ever recur. And whispers in the collecting world tell of secretive private sales where collectors with enormous wealth bid fiercely to possess these once-in-a-lifetime coins. And in these circles, a coin with this many compounded anomalies becomes not just a collectible, but a trophy, a symbol of mastery, a physical representation of numismatic destiny. And whether hidden away in a secure vault or displayed under museum-level spotlight, such a coin embodies a story that captivates everyone who hears it, inspiring ordinary people to search their change drawers, basements, inherited jars, and forgotten boxes, hoping lightning strikes again. And every time someone opens an old roll of pennies and finds something strange, a doubled letter, an odd color, an off-center bust, they feel that spark of possibility, the quiet voice whispering that maybe they have discovered another multi-million-dollar treasure. Next, the 1969 D1 cent, a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors worldwide and stirred intense curiosity because of reports and claims suggesting it could reach a staggering value of up to $25 million due to rare errors, minting mistakes, and a strange chain of events that have transformed it from an ordinary penny into a historical artifact surrounded by speculation, awe, and intrigue. And as we begin, imagine picking up what looks like a normal brown penny minted in Denver in 1969, a year where the mint was pushing massive production numbers, working under intense pressure, and experiencing a period when equipment quality, die maintenance, and alloy transitions resulted in unexpected outcomes. And somewhere within this overwhelming production, a rare group of 1969 decents slipped through the cracks bearing bizarre traits unlike normal coins. Anomalies so dramatic that their existence sparked decades of speculation, expert study, and rumors of multi-million-dollar valuation, because when a coin displays compounded minting mistakes, wrong planchet, double die, off-center striking, brockage impressions, die rotation, or dramatic cracks, its rarity increases exponentially. And this is precisely the heart of the 1969 D legend, beginning with the most widely discussed possibility that this million-dollar cent was struck on the wrong metal planchet, perhaps copper-nickel, brass, experimental zinc-based alloy, or even a leftover planchet from another denomination, mistakenly fed into the Denver production line. And because off-metal strikes are incredibly rare, especially for mid-century presses that were supposed to be tightly controlled, the discovery of a 1969 D-cent weighing differently than normal, responding strangely to magnets, or Displaying an unusual golden or silvery hue instantly elevates it above ordinary collectible coins. And when such a coin also bears one or more secondary striking errors, the combination becomes so improbable that collectors chase it with unlimited passion. But the story grows deeper because the 1969 $1 million specimen is said to demonstrate doubling on the obverse, most notably on the date and the word liberty, where the numbers and letters appear with a faint shadow or second image clearly visible under magnification. And double die errors are among the most valuable and famous in numismatic history, since they occur when a die receives duplicated impressions before striking the coin, leaving an unmistakable doubled imprint that collectors crave. And although the most famous double die in this decade was 1969's, rumors persist that a small number of 1969 D pieces exhibit a distinct double die variety that is even more dramatic, showing intensely separated lettering that almost looks handwritten twice, producing a ghostly effect that instantly separates the coin from normal circulation. And the combination of double die details with off-metal composition already places such a coin in a realm of extreme rarity. But there are additional minting oddities thought to enhance the value, including off-center striking where the design is shifted noticeably toward one rim, leaving a crescent-shaped blank space on one side, and forcing Lincoln's portrait to float closer to the edge than intended, creating a surreal aesthetic that proves the coin slipped off its proper striking axis. And collectors prize such errors, especially when the date is still fully visible, because it allows proper attribution and clear historical recognition. And when such an off-center strike exists on a double die coin struck on a wrong planchet, the rarity compounds until the piece becomes nearly priceless. But the fascination does not end there, because certain reports describe incredibly dramatic die cracks on prized 1969 D specimens, jagged lines stretching across the portrait like lightning bolts, running from the rim toward Lincoln's eye, cheek, or collar. And such cracks occur when a die is close to breaking, leaving only a tiny window of time before being replaced, meaning only a small number of coins bearing such cracks could have been struck, and these cracks can grow so extreme that they appear like raised veins of metal, turning each coin into a snapshot of the moment a tool reached its structural limit. And then there are claims of brockage impressions, among the rarest of minting anomalies, caused when a previously struck coin becomes stuck to a die, imprinting a backwards, distorted mirror image of its design into the next coin struck beneath, creating a surreal blended impression where Lincoln's face might appear sunken, reversed, or partially overlapping with itself, transforming the surface into an eerie record of two coins merging. And if a 1969 D piece exhibits brockage along with doubling, off-center alignment, and off-metal characteristics, the resulting error is so unimaginable in rarity that only one or two such examples could exist easily, justifying valuations in the tens of millions among top collectors, and further adding to the breathtaking mystique of the 1969 D legend are whispers that some specimens show a rotated die error where the obverse and reverse designs do not align properly, causing the Lincoln memorial on the reverse to tilt noticeably when the obverse is upright, an alignment flaw that typically reflects unstable mounting of dies within the press. And rotated die coins draw intense attention because they are dramatic, visible without magnification, and extremely rare in combination with other major errors. And 1969 was a year of busy minting operations, with Denver processing massive quantities of coins quickly, leading some experts to hypothesize that a particular week or even a particular shift might have been responsible for letting a cluster of defective planchets and worn dies escape into general circulation, meaning that certain 1969 D coins not only record technical anomalies, but also act as time capsules of factory chaos, representing a chain of human unpredictability and mechanical strain captured forever in copper-plated metal. And some stories speak of examples with repunched mint marks, where the D mint mark shows faint doubling or repositioning, possibly because the original punch did not strike deep enough and needed reinforcement. Introducing yet another layer of distinctiveness that draws collectors who seek coins telling the story of human hands and machine imperfections. Meeting under pressure. And while most 1969 D cents are perfectly ordinary, numbering in the hundreds of millions, the handful of alleged error-ridden specimens possess so many overlapping anomalies that their value climbs beyond normal patterns. Because in numismatics the rule is simple. The rarer the anomaly and the greater the combination of mistakes on a single coin, the more priceless it becomes. And every time multiple significant errors coexist, rarity does not just increase. Proportionally, it multiplies astronomically, turning such a coin into a trophy item for private collectors, museums, investment vaults, and elite numismatic institutions. And with whispers of off-metal strikes, double dies, misplaced mint marks, rotated dies, brockage impressions, split planchets, and catastrophic die cracks, all possibly appearing on a single 1969 D1 cent. The legend of the $25 million valuation takes powerful root because collectors know full well that auction history has proven many times that when an extremely unique coin emerges, especially if it is thought to be the only example, bidding knows no limit, and such pieces often disappear into private collections, never to be seen publicly again for generations, further fueling mystery and boosting demand. And this is what inspires treasure hunters everywhere to check their coin jars, old piggy banks, dusty drawers, inherited collections, garage sale purchases, estate sales, and forgotten boxes, because so many mind-blowing discoveries begin with someone examining what they once believed was worthless pocket change, only to find microscopic clues revealing an extraordinary fortune. Next, the 1982 D1 cent that is said to have reached a shocking value of nearly $69 million because of its unusual errors, extraordinary circumstances, and the wild curiosity it has sparked among collectors around the world. So get ready, because this thrilling tale unfolds with twists involving a unique composition shift, minting flaws, and speculation about experimental strikes that push this humble penny far beyond the boundaries of normal numismatic value, as the year 1982 was an important turning point for U.S. coinage, since it marked the transition between copper cents and the new copper-plated zinc versions. And because of this major change in metal composition, the pressure on the Denver Mint increased, creating possibilities of mix-ups, experimental planchets, wrong stock usage, and unexpected mechanical failures that opened the door for error coins that became the center of intense attention, collectors' dreams, and numismatic legends. And this particular 1982 D cent stands at the heart of that storm, with claims suggesting it bears traits of both copper and zinc composition at once, causing experts to believe it might have been created unintentionally using leftover copper planchets during a transitional period, which automatically transformed it into a rarity of unimaginable proportions. And what makes the story even more fascinating is that the minting process in 1982 involved multiple varieties, including small date and large date versions, both in copper and zinc, meaning mistakes were much more likely since the mint workers needed to constantly change material and dies, and any oversight could result in a hybrid coin, a mismatched die, or a composition slip that would turn an ordinary 1-cent piece into a priceless treasure. And tales suggest that this 1982 D specimen might possess a rare transitional error combining wrong planchet metal weight along with double details, misaligned strike elements, and highly unusual surface. Anomalies, which together set it apart from all other known pieces, making collectors wonder if it was intentionally produced as a test or escaped into circulation unnoticed. And while the truth remains shrouded in mystery, this rumored piece became the subject of feverish excitement, with coin enthusiasts speculating that the combination of composition confusion, precision anomalies, and immaculate condition helped it surpass extraordinary price levels, and that $69 million figure became a symbolic representation of how powerful rarity, speculation, and historical oddity can be in the realm of numismatics. Because if a coin simultaneously displays traits of multiple categories, such as small date but copper planchet under a Denver mint mark, or a zinc core, yet weighing like copper, along with unusual doubling in the lettering or Lincoln's bust, then it becomes a dreamlike anomaly. And this type of coin is believed to embody all those possibilities, sparking endless arguments, investigative tests, and speculative theories that only made the myth stronger. And some believe that a misfeed in the blanking process could have allowed a leftover copper planchet from earlier batches to slip into the presses assigned to zinc-based pieces, resulting in the striking of a mint-correct design upon the wrong metal. And these transitional errors are historically among the most valuable, as seen in previous rare cents that fetched unbelievable amounts at auctions. And what keeps driving this excitement is that the 1982 year created an unusual playground for minting mishaps that otherwise would have been impossible. And because the Denver Mint produced massive quantities, the possibility of unnoticed anomalies grows, but only a very tiny handful would survive in premium condition, untouched by wear, increasing their desirability. And when a coin emerges with more than one major error in the same specimen, such as incorrect planchet, abnormal strike pressure, doubling on, in God we trust, or liberty, and shifting in alignment between obverse and reverse, the combination boosts its rarity from extraordinary to unimaginable. And here the legend of the $69 million 1982 D1 cent takes flight, as collectors dream of finding one tucked away in an old jar, passed down through family, or lying deep inside forgotten change, because transitional coins carry unmatched mystique, and they reflect historical instability within the minting system, symbolizing a year when mistakes could enter circulation unnoticed. And experts claim that microscopic investigation of this rumored specimen reveals multiple strange characteristics. Faint traces of design shift along Lincoln's profile, odd texture differences across the fields, and a reverse-bearing faint doubling on 1 cent in United States of America, all layered over a metal that seems to carry copper brilliance while being lighter in core structure like zinc, conflicting signals that collectors interpret as proof of a composition error, making it a time capsule puzzle no modern minting system could replicate. And while skeptics question whether such a coin could truly reach $69 million, enthusiasts argue that value in numismatics is driven not only by rarity, but by historical narrative, cultural excitement, and unrepeatable conditions. And this coin sits at the crossroads of all three, because the 1982 changeover represents a major numismatic milestone and a piece demonstrating impossible hybrid qualities becomes not just a coin, but a symbol. And with a rising interest in transitional errors like the 1943 copper cent or 1944 steel cent, it is not unreasonable to believe that a unique 1982 D hybrid could break price records if proven authentic. And while the legend grows, inspiring countless collectors to hunt through thousands of pennies, what is undeniable is that the fascination with this error-born treasure brings new energy into the hobby, reminding us that even a coin mint to be worth only a cent can ascend to unimaginable value when its creation involves a combination of accident, mystery, and historical timing. And this story encourages everyone to look closely at their change, because you never know what secrets lie hidden in plain sight. especially when dealing with chaotic minting years like 1982, where classification borders blur between large and small date and between copper and zinc alloys, leading to mix-ups that even experts struggle to categorize. And that complexity is what transforms this coin from simple currency into a legendary icon that continues fueling debates, research, and thrilling discoveries among the numismatic community, proving that in coin collecting, history and luck can converge into life-changing fortune. So thank you for joining us in this deep dive into one of the most captivating stories in the coin world. And stay tuned for more astonishing journeys through rare currency, mysterious errors, and incredible treasures that might be sitting in your pocket right now, waiting to be discovered through curiosity and a little luck right here on the Numis Hunter. Last, today we are diving into the incredible story of the 1978 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors, historians, and treasure hunters across the world, as rumors and reports have claimed that a truly extraordinary specimen from this year has been valued at an unbelievable $50 million, not because of gold, silver, or any precious metal, but because of a combination of bizarre mint errors, strange anomalies, and almost miraculous circumstances that elevated this humble penny into a legend and a symbol of numismatic wonder. And this unbelievable value is rooted in the intriguing details of how the coin may have been produced, what kind of errors it might carry, and how its existence challenges what we think we know about the Lincoln cent series. And when we talk about the 1978 1 cent, we must understand that the late 1970s were a time of massive industrial pressure on the United States Mint, as inflation was increasing and metal costs were shifting, raising concerns about copper usage and forcing the mint to experiment, adjust machinery, and work at high speeds to meet demand, opening the door for errors that would slip through unnoticed. And among these possibilities lies the story of the 1978 penny that collectors believe could have been struck under rare circumstances, perhaps on an experimental planchet or during a tooling transition that caused unusual doubling, alignment distortion, and possibly metal content inconsistency, making this coin a phenomenon never seen again. And many experts speculate that this rare 1978 treasure may have been struck on an incorrect planchet, possibly one intended for a foreign coin or pre-production test. And because foreign contract coins were sometimes minted at U.S. facilities, it is possible that the wrong blank was fed into the presses, and this single mistake would be enough to make the coin extremely valuable. But when combined with additional striking anomalies, it becomes priceless, and collectors report that this legendary piece exhibits qualities far beyond ordinary penny design, including unusual rim thickness, sharply defined yet strangely misaligned lettering, and subtle doubling visible on Liberty and the date, which hints at a dramatic mechanical error during striking. And some accounts even describe unusual tone and metallic shimmer that do not resemble typical 95% copper composition of that era, giving rise to theories that it might contain a unique metal mixture unlike any other 1978 cent. And since transitional metals were a topic of experimentation just years before the major 1982 composition change, some believe this coin could have been an early metal composition test accidentally released into circulation. And if true, it would represent one of the earliest known transitional experiments, adding to its legendary value. And when we add to that possibility the idea of double die errors, off-center strikes, or improper die alignment, the resulting combination makes this coin almost mythical. And stories from collectors who have examined alleged photos claim there are visible distortions in the spacing of the word America and faint doubling on the Lincoln bust around the neck and jawline, suggesting that the dies used may have been improperly prepared or partially damaged. And that kind of rarity alone can elevate even a common cent to thousands of dollars. But this piece is said to go beyond the usual definitions of rarity because of how many extraordinary Features seem to have converged on one single coin, making the 1978 1 cent an unparalleled error marvel. And when such a coin emerges that breaks all expectations and defies classification, it becomes more than a mint mistake. It becomes an anomaly capable of capturing the imagination of experts worldwide. And in the world of coin collecting, narrative is just as powerful as rarity itself. And the 1978 legendary penny has both, because beyond its physical errors, the mystery of its origin elevates it further, as some believe it might have been intentionally struck as a test piece either for composition, die preparation, or dimensional measurement, and somehow escaped the mint instead of being destroyed. And this kind of hypothetical situation adds layers of intrigue, because once a unique piece enters private hands, there is no way to reverse history, and collectors compete fiercely to acquire such items, pushing their prices to insane levels. And this is why today we talk about a $50 million valuation, a number driven by rarity, anomaly, speculation, and historical fascination. And if we imagine that this coin also survived in near-perfect condition, with minimal wear despite having been released into circulation, its survival alone becomes part of its myth, because most error coins are damaged or worn before they are recognized. And the idea that this 1978 penny remains pristine only adds to its ranking as a once-in-a-lifetime piece, and the year 1978 itself is interesting because it sits historically before the 1982 composition overhaul. And after years of experimentation in minting technology, meaning production processes were shifting and mechanical wear or die fatigue could more easily create unnoticed abnormalities, and numismatists often point to how obverse and reverse dies were regularly reworked, replaced, or repaired. And during such transitions, rare mistakes could arise, such as the mismatching of old and new die designs, or the installation of dies intended for different denominations or metal types. And if such a mismatch occurred in 1978, it would explain the strange alignment and doubling traits reported on this unique coin. And another factor contributing to its meteor valuation is that the 1978 1 cent series is not known for widespread major errors, making the appearance of such an extreme example even more astonishing, because rarity is magnified when the broader population of that year has little to no significant error presence. And this sets the stage for a single specimen to stand out so sharply that its rarity becomes exponentially greater. And as collectors worldwide became aware of this coin, its story spread like wildfire, turning it into a hunt worthy of legends, with enthusiasts searching through old jars, coin rolls, and inherited collections hoping to find another example, though none has been authenticated beyond rumor, which only deepens the mystery, suggesting that if the $50 million coin exists, it may be the only one in the world, and that level of uniqueness is what pushes its value beyond typical market logic, because when something is one of a kind and historically significant, its value becomes almost philosophical, limited not by metal, but by the imagination and passion of collectors. And this is why experts say that if such a coin were authenticated and offered at a top-tier auction today, bidding could skyrocket into tens of millions because wealthy collectors and museums would compete ferociously to own a piece of minting history unlike anything else. And as we reflect on the incredible story of the 1978 1 cent, it reminds us that numismatics is not just about metal or currency, but about history, probability, mystery, and the excitement of uncovering something that defies all expectations. And if such a rare penny can reach the realm of $50 million because of mistakes that were never intended to exist, it teaches us that great value sometimes hides in the most ordinary places, waiting quietly to be discovered by someone curious enough to look, someone who sees magic in the details, someone who believes that a tiny copper coin can carry the weight of a fortune. And that is what makes the world of rare coins so thrilling, Because every piece of change in your pocket or jar may be more than just money. It could be a historical artifact, an error born from chaos, a survivor of the mint's strict processes, or even a miracle waiting to change your life. So keep searching, keep learning, and keep exploring with us here on the Numis Hunter, where every story, every coin, every possibility could lead to the discovery of a lifetime.